first of all, as an investment opportunity. We're finally going to go out and start raising money sometime later this year. I think it's worth noting that we've just finished enrolling our initial 75 patients, so we've reached the filing milestone. Big market potential with this technology, as you heard previously. Clinical outcomes in the aegis zone, we call that the zone at which you get patients below 14 millimeters of mercury so that they're, on average, they're no longer at risk of losing vision. A fantastic material that in our device that I'll talk about in a second. And at the last session, all of a sudden there was a lot of interest in having everybody compare their results to trabeculectomy. Well, we're going to answer that question because our product is the only technology that's being studied with a comparison against the gold standard trabeculectomy. We're a glaucoma company. We've got a unique product, our MicroShunt, which has been proven in humans for over 12 years. This material has been in the cardiovascular environment, and it's proven that you can take a very small device and keep it patent, and we've been able to achieve some excellent IOP lowering as a result. This is a huge marketplace. MarketScope pegs it at almost 80 million patients. You can see the blue part of the pie, that's the primary open-angle glaucoma population. That's our initial area of investigation, and probably most importantly, besides the fact that this is the second leading cause of blindness in the world today, something we'd like to be able to take care of, if you look at the compounded annual growth rate for device sales in this space, it's projected to be over 40% over the next 5 years. Our market potential we view as being 7 times the size of a lot of the other companies that are out there because we just simply don't require a cataract removal in order to get the results that we're achieving. This is what the device looks like on the end of a finger. It's 8.5 millimeters in length. It's a 350 micron outer diameter, a 70 micron inner diameter. Very small device, soft, compliant, likes to go with the curvature of the tissue that's in the eye. Our revolutionary SIBS material is, just as far as we can tell, the most bioinert material that we've been able to find in the body. It allows us to get IOPs down to 14 millimeters of mercury or less and remain patent. And our results are not temporary. If you look at the results that we're getting with this technology at 3 months and 3 years, they're pretty much the same. So we're following the series of patients that we've been doing in the United States and in Japan and in Europe, and we'll report on everything except the US data because those data are masked. And in this particular series, these patients had an IOP, pre-op IOP, of 23 millimeters of mercury. We had 82 of them, and we were trying to get them to land in that aegis zone where they're below 14 millimeters of mercury and would no longer experience any loss of vision. So these were kind of late stage patients that we did, but we were also curious about what happens if we did earlier stage patients, those patients who might have a high IOP, but they really haven't experienced a lot of field loss yet. So these patients had a mean deviation of -6 dB, so they're these early stage glaucoma patients. We've got 38 patients that were in this series, and again, trying to land them in this aegis zone, and you can see at 1, 2, and 3 years that we're successfully able to get them below 14 millimeters of mercury and get 70% of these patients completely off of glaucoma medications. If you look at the entire series, the 82 patients, those two right-hand columns will show you the percentage of patients that were below 18 millimeters of mercury and the percentage of patients below 14 millimeters of mercury. Everybody got underneath 18, and over 80% of those patients below 14 millimeters of mercury. But concurrent to that, we've got to look at the drop in medication use. So you can see over an 80% reduction in medications, get these patients down to about a half a med per patient, and over 70% of the patients completely off of meds at 3 years. Adverse events, we had 10% of the patients with IOPs below 5% or below 5 millimeters of mercury, but all resolved spontaneously with no surgical intervention required. Similarly with choroidal effusion, all resolved spontaneously, no surgical intervention, and no long-term sight-threatening adverse events, a good benefit to risk ratio associated with this. So the bottom line is our results were a 50% IOP reduction, 80% of the eyes with IOPs below 14, 84% reduction in glaucoma medications to a half a med, 70% of the patients completely off and no long-term sight-threatening complications. This is the only glaucoma technology that we think has been able to achieve that over that period of time. We're trying to give doctors the opportunity to be able to think low with a procedure that they can have labeling that compares to trabeculectomy. Thank you.